What is up, everybody? Sam here with BFPGear.com, and for today's video we're going to show you and tell you how to store your paint properly. This is something that happens more often than not, where you go out, you play at a paintball park, whether you buy a case or two cases, you're grinding for the weekend, playing for fun. But you might have some leftover paint afterwards, and you want to take care of that paint because then the next time you go, you have usable paint versus, just throwing this into your car or something like that. So we're going to show you some tips and tricks on how to take care of your paint, how to store it properly, whether you keep it in a case, you keep them in the bags, or if you dump some into a paintball caddy. With that said, we're going to see you after the intro. First thing is first, we gotta talk about the do's and the don'ts of paint storage. Proper paint storage, what you wanna do is you wanna basically take your leftover paint, whether it's in a bag, it's still in the case, or you put your paintballs in a caddy, you want to bring your paint inside. The don'ts, well, don't leave it in your car, don't leave it, in a garage, don't leave it in your shed, don't leave it where there's no like air conditioning, right? Like you have no control over the temperature. And the reason why is because paint is stored properly so that the integrity of the shell and the ball stays completely unchanged. Because you want your paint to not get too cold, because then it starts to dimple, the shell becomes way too brittle, and in doing so, it's either not going to shoot straight or it's just going to break in your gun, your hopper, or your pods. And if paint gets too warm, it starts to expand a little bit, and then sometimes the same thing happens. It doesn't shoot properly, it won't go straight, maybe you get a lot of bounces, or if the seam is really thin, sometimes paint can leak through the seams. So you want to store your paint properly to avoid all of those issues. Now, storing properly, if you've got your paint, sitting here in a case, what I like to do is if you take a full case home or you have like a half case or something like that, once a week, I like to rotate the case, so that way, every time I rotate it, there's a different point of pressure and weight on, the balls at the bottom there. And I do that because if I just let them sit here the whole time like this, there's always going to be that constant pressure that's pushing down on the very bottom. And maybe when I get to those paintballs in the bag, they're not going to shoot right. Now, if you just have bags that are loose, the one thing that I like to do is I just kind of like to lay them down flat and just get them nice and flat. And then, a week or two rolls by, and you just flip it over. And that's just going to keep the integrity of the ball. It's going to, keep that shape so that it's a nice round ball and not like, ovaled and dimpled or anything like that. And you're going to have usable paint the next time you go out and play. But with all that said, now I'm going to go grab some paint that is in a caddy and we're going to show you what to do. So, like I mentioned before, same thing applies when you put your paint into a paintball caddy or, like a ball hauler or something like that. You want to keep your paint inside. Don't put paint in a caddy and think that this is going to protect like the paintballs or anything like that, and just leave this in your garage, in your car, or whatever. That way, next time you go out and play, everything's ready, it's good to go. Bring your caddy inside. But you got to do the same thing and treat this just like a bag of paint. Caddies can carry 2 bags of paint in total, which is 1,000 rounds. But again, if I had 1,000 rounds sitting in this and it's completely full, all these paintballs at the bottom are going to get crushed and they start to either get those little micro cracks in them or they start to become misshapen. So you just do the same thing. Once a week, just kind of take your caddy and just rotate it. And then you just kind of move everything around and you just make sure that the paintball stays nice and round. And in doing so, again, you're going to have usable paint the next time you go out and play. That's it. That's all it takes to store your paint properly. You follow these steps, you're going to have super usable paint and you're going to prolong the lifespan and the shelf life of the paint. And it's going to be usable, 6 months out or something like that. Paint usually does have a shelf life of about 6 months to a year, depending on the grade of the ball. But if you follow these steps, that paint's going to last you a long time. And the next time you go out and play, well, you'll be ready to go and you'll have paint that shoots really good. And, if you need to pick up any paintballs or maybe you need to pick up a paint caddy, you can get that stuff right now on BFPGear.com.